grade 11s. Today I want to talk to you guys about general average. Alright, if you remember correctly, we did general average in grade 10. However, we only did the definition, not the calculation. So, from grade 10, we should know that general average is a sacrifice that is made to save the peril of the ship. I want you guys to know that in every voyage that takes place, no matter where in the world, there is something called a joint venture. A joint venture consists of 3 parties. Sometimes it can be 2 parties, sometimes it can be 3 parties. But the 3 parties are the bunker owner, the ship owner, as well as the cargo owner. In some instances, the ship owner could also own the bunkers. Hence why I say they can be 2 parties or 3 parties. All right, depending on the scenario that is given. Okay, I want you to say, it is a sacrifice that is made to save the joint venture. And now you know the joint venture is ship owner, cargo owner, bunker owner. Every bill of lading, there are terms and conditions at the back of the bill. There will always be a general average clause. And what this general average clause says, should we make a sacrifice to save the joint venture, everybody is going to pay towards that general average. So whether you're the cargo owner, whether you're the ship owner, whether you're the bunker owner, we are the joint venture. Should we need to save or sacrifice something, everyone will pay towards it. Now that you understand that, you know what a joint venture is, you know the definition of general average, and you also know general average is a clause that can be found on the bill of lading. I want to give you examples of general average. The one you should know that I love to use is jettisoning cargo overboard. That means you throw cargo overboard. So for example, a container catches a light and it's burning, and we are going to try and save the containers around. We'll probably try and extinguish it. We'll probably try and do anything to kind of contain the fire, so to make sure that the fire does not move on to the other containers next to it. So one thing we may do is to jettison cargo overboard. That is an act of general average. If the vessel got damaged somehow and it needs to be repaired, what will happen is the ship will divert and go to the nearest port and be repaired and then go back on its voyage to deliver cargo. If, for example, the ship gets stuck maybe in a reef or hits a rock, and cargo needs to be discharged and put onto another vessel, that is also an act of general average, because remember, we are saving the cargo by discharging it and putting onto another vessel, fixing the current vessel, and then putting the cargo back on and going to port of discharge. That is an act of general average. Another example is engaging in tug and tow. Should we have to tow the vessel to the nearest port for any reason, that is an act of general average, because we made a sacrifice. We diverted and went to the nearest port so we can fix the problem and then get back on our voyage. So imagine that the vessel hits a reef and there is a 5-meter gash. That gash is an opening to the hull and water enters the hull. So if we continue on our voyage, there's a possibility that the ship won't even make it to port of discharge. It will sink, and obviously there'll be total loss of the ship, of the crew, of the bunkers, and the cargo as well. So what we try and do is we try and fix the problem and then move on. So fixing the problem is general average. All right, so the costs that are covered under general average is any salvage costs, as well as the surveying costs, hiring of that tugboat, discharging of cargo onto another vessel, that is under general average, or the cost that covers general average, as well as port costs. So you must remember, I always tell you that nothing is for free in shipping. Absolutely nothing. You will pay for every single day that you are there. So you will pay to berth, or you might pay to go to dry dock, but every day you spend, you pay. So because we diverted and we made that sacrifice, because we need to obviously fix the hull, we will pay. All right, so also I want you guys to remember that not every container or not every cargo owner has the same value of cargo. I'll give an example. I may have cargo on board for 10,000 Rand, Snekuku might have cargo on board for 20,000 Rand, or Andile may have cargo on board for 30,000 Rand. We have cargo on board, however, it is not the same value. It's not fair for me to pay the same amount that Usneko is going to pay. It's not fair for me to pay the same amount that Andile is going to pay, simply because our cargo value is not the same. So general average is paid according to the value of what you have on board. There is a formula to make sure that calculations or the proportions are payable quite fairly. All right, and the formula is X over JV times cost incurred over 1. All right, JV is joint venture. So X will always be variable. It is ever changing. It depends on how the question is being asked. All right, so if they're asking calculate the share of the cargo owned, the value of the cargo is 15 million. So the X will then be value of cargo, which is 15 million, over joint venture. Remember I told you joint venture is bunker owner, ship owner, and cargo owner. You will then have to add all those three amounts together. You'll have to add the value of the ship, value of the cargo, and value of the bunkers. You add those together. Then you say times cost incurred. So you'll put 2 million over 1. Let us work out the share of general average for the ship owner, for example. So share of the general average of the ship owner, we are going to say, what is our value to the ship owner? What is our value, guys? The ship. We are then going to use that value under X. So you're going to say JV times CI over 1. So we are working out the amount that the ship owner is going to pay towards general average. And the value of the ship is 38 million. So you're going to put 38 million over the joint venture. The joint venture is 38 million, 15 million, 500,000. All right. And that will give you times, what was the cost incurred? I told you 2 million. So you're going to say 2 million over 1. And then your answer is how much the ship owner is going to contribute. And it is 1.4 and some change. Okay. So remember, X is a variable. It's ever changing depending on how the question is being asked. Now we're doing share of general average by the bunker owner. Now, what is the value of bunkers? Okay, the X becomes value of bunkers is 500,000. So it becomes 500,000 over joint venture. Remember, you add value of ship, value of cargo, value of bunkers. 38 million plus 15 million plus 500,000. And we already know it's 53,500,000 times cost incurred. We already know cost incurred is 2 million over 1. So the only thing that's actually changing is X. So depending on how the question is asked, X will change to that amount. So the value of the bunkers is 500,000. So you put all that together in the formula and it will give you $18,691.59. Okay, so you notice that all the amounts are actually different. Every single one is different because the value of the ship is not the same as the value of the cargo, as the value of the bunker owner. Therefore, the more that you have invested in the joint venture, the more that you will pay towards general average. All right, notice how the bunker owner pays the least amount because his value of bunkers is only 500,000. All right, so therefore the amount or the contribution he makes will only be 18,000 and some change. All right, so, and they will always ask it the same way. They will always ask, calculate the contribution that the cargo owner will make, calculate the contribution that the bunker owner will make, calculate the contribution that the ship owner will make. All right, so long as you remember the formula, you are good to go because you know X is a variable. If I need to calculate cargo owner, then I take value of cargo. If I need to calculate ship owner, I take value of ship. If I need to calculate GA for bunkers, I take the value of bunkers. And it really is that simple. I want you guys to try it yourself. I hope that this has been helpful. And guys, I'm more than happy to do more videos. But if it's not, I don't want to waste time on going through things that you can read yourself. Things that you find challenging. I'm always willing to help. And I hope everything is clear in this video. If it's not, please come back, send me questions, ask me questions. I'm more than happy to help.